Hello, and welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast. My name is Richie Riche of the MHRT Network, and over that away, I've recently realized that when you point this way on my screen, it looks like I'm pointing the right way, but then to the screen for everybody else, it looks like I'm pointing the wrong way. I give up. So I'm just doing this. Anywho, that's DZ. He is representing his Los Angeles Chargers. We do believe we are going to have a Raiders representative here on the show later this evening, as long as everything works out. But we are going to get right into it. We got a fair amount of news across the AFC. Broncos started their OTAs today as well. So some big news there. Just a few things to kind of cover off and go over on the show, and then we'll see if we can't drum up some of the Raiders and Chiefs information as well for the fans of the show, so that we can include. You're on mute.
That was weird.
There
It's
we
like
go.
we had three Raiders hosts,
Yeah.
and you can't get one right. I'm sure one of them will roll on in. Y'all ready
Yeah,
to
I'm pretty
smoke?
sure.
I like barbecue. I don't know, smoked any other way.
Hmm.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
Raider Paul.
but I think it'll be an interesting little block here. Um, in my opinion, I think it'll be an interesting little start to the season and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
we'll go from there.
I mean, speaking of starting the season off, OTA news like coming out of LA kind of thing. The fans got a little more insight on Salute Raider Paul. The fans got a little more insight on the offensive, like what this type of offense is going to be. And, we're probably not going to know fully and really what it's going to be, like till mid-season, right? I mean,
I agree.
but from what Justin says, and he showed up. He was at OTAs. He had all the full support by Harbaugh for supporting his girlfriend in Europe or whatever. He said it's a fun but complicated offense, and we got to hear from like both our tackles, Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, the two guys that went down last season, and they sound pumped, man. They're really excited about this wide zone offense. I know the Raiders are running a similar scheme, and from what all the beat reporters are saying is the O linemen are doing a ton of running drills, a lot of running, because these wide zones, these guys, a lot of these blocks take time. So this is what I was saying about the kind of the growing pains with this offense is a lot of things have to work. Like it's got to marry. It's like it's got to marry together in order for these plays to work because it's a lot of timing, quick pass. It's a quick pass scheme. I'm not really concerned on the running game. It's more the quick pass and the complicated offense and a lot of motions and things like that. But I mean, everybody's doing their homework. They got time, but I think there's going to be some growing pains early in the season. But we'll see. What's up, Mike Carmelli? So you new. Welcome to the show, man. Now I can't hear you, Richie.
How's about I unmute myself as I speak,
Go.
and then it helps everybody. So Mike Carmelini there is the primary host of Mile High Monsters. You can catch his podcast
Gotcha.
most days. And for those that didn't know Mike before his on-camera debut, he did a lot of podcast reviews in Broncos country. So he would watch a bunch and be a loyal audience member on a bunch of podcasts, including the MHRT network. And he did his annual rankings of all the various podcasts and stuff, and they were quite well followed and well received within Broncos country because he did a pretty honest job of reviewing things and all that sort of stuff. So Unlike the on his mainstream media, he was pretty on point and fair with his reviews. So it was pretty cool the way he did it. Um, but yeah, so Mike also has these interesting things where he has two like kind of big time or at least Broncos personalities from different shows and podcasts and kind of all different walks of life within the Broncos country mediascape. And he'll have them go head to head in like trivia and Broncos news and their takes on the team and that kind of stuff. It's actually a super cool concept. So
Nice.
should be a he's got a great show. Recommend people watch it. But Mike, I got now that you're here, go ahead and leave a couple comments in the chat, and I will do my best to answer your questions. The one thing Mike always appreciates with me in the chat is I am certainly not afraid to disagree with him and others. And I will go back and forth with banter, facts, stats, etc., to kind of back up my points. We can always agree to disagree, and then kind of see who's right in the end when the season starts and everything.
So big news in the AFC and the NFC. I think the AFC one was the rumored forever, and then the NFC trade kind of caught everybody by surprise, especially after I think didn't the Browns just extend Garrett last season, if I'm not mistaken.
Myles Garrett.
Pretty sure he just signed his extension last season, and then they trade him this season to the Rams.
In 2025, you're right. It was last year.
Yeah.
He's a 4-year, $160 million extension in March of 2025.
He's got to be like the top selling Browns jersey, right? You know, so like all those Browns fans, they got to be pissed. They've got to be, all the Christmas presents. You know, he got extended. Everybody got a Myles Garrett jersey, and now he's a Los Angeles Ram, who are, last I checked, betting favorites. To win the Super Bowl this year. I'll be hate watching them all year. But yeah, they're loaded. They are loaded. They're well coached. They've got a great GM who doesn't really seem to care about draft picks. I saw somebody put out a post, I don't know, the other day about, people are like kind of quelling the, people talking about the first round stuff. And they actually have they have a lot of contributors, role players, and starters who come from later rounds in the draft, and they have some UDFA guys. So they are a well-oiled machine there, and they were like one or two plays away from going to the Super Bowl, probably being Super Bowl champs last year, and they would have definitely smoked the Patriots.
Yeah.
So,
well, that makes a lot of sense, though. And the kicker here is with the Rams. Like, there's a few teams in the NFL that are drafting well now, and the Rams are definitely one of them. And so, what you do with a well coached team that has good talent, it sort of forces those guys beneath them to elevate their play if they ever want to see the field. Like, they're basically the Madden version of the team in the NFL, right? They're just going around and be like, give me all the things. But then what that does for the UDFAs and those younger guys that they do draft is it forces them to try to play up to the same caliber as these often elite level talent that they have brought into the team. And in a well-coached team, this is the kicker, a well-coached team and a cohesive team that has a vision and drafts with that same vision in mind, the Rams have kind of shown that it works. Like, if we're going to be honest, if we're going to be totally blunt and totally honest, that with the right competencies around and on the team, you can win in today's NFL with the Los Angeles Rams model.
I know what you're saying.
Behaving right now.
Yeah, I was talking to some fellow Charger fans, and the two teams in LA, my Chargers and the Rams, have complete different with this new regime with the Chargers, complete opposite philosophies. You know, Ortiz from the Ravens, it's all comp formula. It's they want more picks, and they value their draft capital. They value the young players, and it seems like it's the opposite. The Rams are like, we're going all in, and Super Bowl or bust. And it worked out for them once. We'll see if it works out for them again.
Yep.
But yeah, man.
Yep. So, Mike, you ask Mike, and he responds. First question for me on the Broncos. We're going to get into a lot of the free agency, the second wave, the aftermath of some of the June 1st cuts and stuff like that. And the Broncos were a beneficiary of a designated June 1st cut of Greenlaw. So the Broncos are now up to a little bit over 25 million in cap space, which we'll talk about what they did with some of that money just yesterday with Pat Surtain. But let's let's look at Mike's question here. This is obviously directed at me, but DZ obviously have you chime in right after. Do I think that the Broncos need to address the JFM departure? Well, I'm going to say yes and no. So I was, as everyone who's a fan of the show, or if you've watched any of our replays or whatever, I am a pure trenches guy, and I think that the skill positions feed off of the excellent trench play that includes offensive line and defensive line. And this year we had a bit of a unique draft. We had a massive push in the early stages of the draft with the interior defensive line players. So it's clear that it's not just me that is saying that the interior defensive linemen are incredibly valuable. Other GMs throughout the NFL are definitely agreeing with my general stance in terms of play style and importance of those sorts of players. Now, I think where some of these other GMs are kind of failing is they're drafting a lot on traits rather than fit. So you're going to have a lot of guys that get drafted to the wrong team as a result of some of the poor draft choices of these teams. Even though those players may well go elsewhere and have a second wind or a second wave and actually do quite well when they move on to other teams. We're going to see a fair amount of that as well, in my opinion, from this year's draft class. But in terms of JFM, I think we got Okinedum, I think is the proper pronunciation, although I'm sure I butchered it pretty badly.
The guy through the draft?
Yeah, the guy through the draft. He certainly has the look and feel of a JFM replacement if you're going to just simply, look at the way he plays, his general get off and kind of what he was, how he was thought of, as it were, in the NFL draft process. And depending on your personal style, I really want a top tier interior pass rush on the team because I think it makes everybody on the team better.
Doesn't
But
everybody, Richie? Everybody
right,
wants an interior pass rusher.
But for me, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to, say, bringing in a guy like Cam Jordan. But I have one caveat with Cam. He's super, super outspoken. Like, as in, like, he's got quite a mouth on him, and he's got like the kind of a bit of a cocky attitude. Like you hear him in the X space and all that sort of stuff, or he's certainly not shy to kind of chirp back and perhaps even ruffle some feathers.
Yeah.
I would only bring Cam Jordan in with a full and proper assessment by my coaching staff with the Denver Broncos, because George Payton and Sean Payton are very much culture and character guys. Like you see what we've done, generally speaking, with regards to draft and stuff. And as much as I think Cam Jordan's production is going to be welcomed by many Denver Broncos fans, it could come at the cost of upheaval in the locker room which has long-term waves, ripples, and impact. And I think that the Broncos right now have a really, really good thing going, and you need to be very careful of the puzzle pieces that you bring in and add to a cohesive locker room. One piece to add to that, and I'll throw over to you, DZ. You look at how the Broncos played last season in particular. There was multiple games where multiple times tons of people wrote the Broncos off as no way they're going to be able to win that game, or they can't come back, or they're not going to be able to do what they need to. And almost every time, because there's only one game we did not come back and win, um, we did. We did what we needed to do to come out on top in those games. And so, in my opinion, I think that shows a lot of locker room grit. It shows a lot of cohesiveness, and it shows a no matter what, we truly believe that we can win if we need to. And I'd be very, very concerned with the shaking up of that with a guy like Cam Jordan. But I'm also not opposed to it either.
And Mike brings up a good point.
He is. However, so is Kamara. And Kamara has basically been touted as being available from the Saints for, 3 seasons now? Is that about right? Something like that.
I feel like I saw
we've
something
heard
about
his
Alvin
name.
Kamara.
We've heard we've heard his name in the could he be traded? Could he be a free agent? Is he going to
Right.
be available? Blah 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 blah. Yada yada yada. So on and so forth. And yet Kamara has clearly never really been, aggressively sought after by Peyton. Another one was it Mike Williams? I think is the wide receiver's name. The guy that was literally just got an ego that was insane as the wide receiver there for the
The
Saints,
Chargers
and he was there. No, it was. What was the guy's name? The wideout for the Saints. I thought his last name was Williams. Am I mistaken?
That was the really good one.
Yes.
What's his name?
I swore it was Williams, but I mean, maybe I'm misremembering.
He's retired now, right?
Well, yeah, but the thing is that when Sean Payton came to Denver, the Saints said we're getting rid of him, and there was a lot of initial talk that Sean Payton might go after him because he was drafted or brought in by Sean, and he didn't do it.
I mean, God, what was his name? Can't believe I'm forgetting. He was like a fantasy guy too. Like everybody would pick him. And he just kind of just fell off a cliff.
Yeah, well, he was like one of the best wide receivers.
Michael Thomas
in like all of football for like
Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas, that's who it is. Michael Thomas. That's right. Yeah.
He retired in 21.
And so in 21.
Yeah. Or he was done with them in 21.
No, I don't think it was.
He was a longtime Saint, and then they did have Brandon Cooks, Willie Snead, Ted Ginn, Kenny Stills. Yeah, I think it's Michael Thomas you were thinking of because he was he was a really good. He was one of their top guys in their franchise.
But there's that he was there, and there's another guy there on the Saints. There's a lot of talk that Peyton might bring him over to the Broncos. It never happened because, again, I think Sean Payton, and this is to his credit, by the way, I don't think he's ever going to admit it because he's too much of a player's style coach. You hear all these guys that swear by him as a coach. Like they will literally follow him. Like little Jordan Humphrey, his entire NFL career is because of Sean Payton, basically. And Sean Payton is actively wanting and seeking character players. And by the way, not to say that Cam isn't a good character player in the locker room and all that sort of stuff. My only comments are, as a fanalist, my only exposure to the guy is his public persona, coupled with his play on the field. His play on the field warrants you wanting to bring him on your team like tomorrow. Basically, he's 10.5 sacks last year. The dude was a beast. Mike Williams. Yeah, it was Mike. I
I
swear it
do
was Mike
not remember
Williams.
Mike Williams on the Saints. Could I
Yeah, I
look at
swear it
it
was
up?
Mike Williams. I'm almost positive the dude was an absolute. I think Mike Williams was the guy that kind of took over for Thomas, and he was just an absolute contested catch nightmare. He had a combination of like size, speed, um, caught everything in his general radius, and he ended up with this like chip on his shoulder where he just thought he was like his crap didn't stink. Um, he Kamara and then when another quarterback got there, they all had this like 3-person clique that seemed to be rather unhealthy, where they just all kind of like pumped each other up, but they weren't playing well. um, but anyways, just that's an example. You want a high character player. You want someone that's not going to necessarily upset the apple cart or ruin a good thing that you have going. Especially as Bo Nix is starting to work his way into becoming the de facto leader on the team and in the locker room, you want those character players to stick around and do their thing. Another very interesting thing, which I think is something that needs to be noted, Mike, you brought up JFM as an example. Um, JFM showed to be such a high character guy, like truly a high character player on the Denver Broncos. It was pretty well known in going into his last season, that he pretty much knew he wasn't going to get the extension with the Broncos. You never heard a word. He was encouraging and helping other guys. He was just the rock on the other rock on the defensive line, and his production was incredible. And I really think that he
Yeah,
deserves
like
a
7.5 sacks, something like that. Really,
yeah, yeah, I think he just deserves a little bit more credit than I think a lot of Broncos country even has given him, and I think the national media didn't really give him the accolades he deserved until right near the end when they started to realize that he was like, certainly within an upper tier or upper echelon kind of interior defensive line play, and he earned his extension. He earned that contract that he got as I think it's with the Titans if I'm not mistaken.
yep.
Um, but anyways, and by the way, with the Titans, I expect that he's going to have similar production because I think that he is just I think he's developed himself into being like a one man army in some regards, and I think the Titans have shown that they're a defensive team to begin with, and I think that JFM is going to end up being a staple player for them. He may not have the same necessary production that he had on a stacked defense that the Broncos had, but I do think he's going to have great success.
Fucking who's Wemby? I don't know. George Welder's face,
I
whatever
think he
that
means
comment is.
Mike Washington.
Who's Wemby?
Oh,
Is that like
I don't know who Wemby is.
Welders? Who's Wemby?
Yeah.
It's like NBA. I don't watch NBA, so
Yeah. So last question here by Mike in the chat. We have, who do you guys think should be the favorite in the AFC West as we sit here today?
if you
This
go to
one's a
betting
tough
site,
one.
go to betting sites, and it's either how you feel, schedule, teams, additions, subtractions, everything, and then there's also what Vegas thinks. Yeah, that's how I view it. Vegas is high on my Chargers.
Yes.
But like I said early in the show, when the show kicked off, a lot of things have to go right with the Chargers. It's a new offensive scheme, and it's a complicated one. Even what Justin alluded to, he says it's fun, but it's complicated. It's a timing. This is something that those players, they haven't had for the last 2 years. I don't think Justin's even played in a system like this his whole career. Quick pass, quick, timing throw kind of deal. They've always relied on his arm.
Yes, they
Then
have.
you have the Broncos, who didn't need much. Few subtractions on defense. Add a a dog, a really good wide receiver in
In
Waddle.
Waddle. Yeah.
Um, had a solid draft. I think the whole division had a solid draft, to be honest with you. Like every team drafted really well. Um, the Raiders, like it's a division game. They are a hell of a lot better than they've been in the last few seasons, and they haven't even played a snap yet. But someone there was an earlier comment talking about Kirk Cousins, playing against the Chargers, and I'm like, dude, he's a proven quarterback. You can say what you want, you can joke with him, you know what I mean? But he's a proven guy. He is a he knows what he's doing when he's out there. You know what I mean? And then you have the Chiefs who brought over the Super Bowl MVP and are still Andy Reid's still in the building. Uh, there's talk about Mahomes' knee, right? Like we don't know, but I got a feeling he's going to be out there. Um, and Travis Kelsey's still out there. It looks like he's going to run it back for another season. And Spagnuolo is still the defensive coordinator, so it is tough to see who's going to come out top. I think the Broncos had a little bit of luck on their side last year, but they might not need that luck if their offense improves, right? J.K. Dobbins back, Waddle, Cortland Sutton there. Maybe Jolly surprises everybody and takes.
Coleman is the one guy. So Coleman is the one guy that I think if I'm coming at it from your perspective as a Chargers fan or Raiders fan or even a Chiefs fan, the biggest difference, in my opinion, on the offense, aside from Waddle's a difference maker. I'm not even denying that, but I'm just saying, let's put the wide receiver addition that's an obvious choice to kind of bring up in this conversation aside.
Sure. Okay.
The number one thing that the Broncos struggled with last season was when J.K. Dobbins went down, our run game went down with him.
Oh yeah.
And what we showed at the end of last season and in the middle part of last season when JK went down, first off, JK held on to his rushing record like right into like week like 12. Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
He went down in like week 9, and it took 4 weeks for another running back to actually surpass him in terms of the rushing yards and all that kind of
He
stuff.
fit in
And
with Peyton really well.
yeah. So
Yeah.
where I'm going with this is that the Chargers, and I'm going to tie this back into your team actually. Last season, the Chargers attempted to do what I believe the Broncos are doing this season. You have J.K. Dobbins, who's injury prone. He's never really had a healthy season or ever had a healthy season in his career. But when he's healthy, he is undeniably like a top
Really good.
3 to 5 running back in the NFL. Okay, that's
Good back.
like that. Like that's just statistically factually accurate. Okay, done. But what the Broncos went ahead and did this offseason is they recognized that they needed a well-rounded running back that could do the same things as JK when he inevitably goes down. And they got a guy that is a proven
Is this the
NFL
Coleman guy you're talking about?
Coleman, exactly. They went and got a guy who's similarly built to JK, who's got a similar running style to JK, who's already got the pass protection component of his game on lockdown. He was the best pass protecting running back in the NFL draft, not even close. And and now they're having him learn behind J.K. Dobbins, like the minutia of the game, like the little quirks and ebbs and flows. And so you hope, this is the goal, obviously, is that as the season hits, say, like a week 5, and J.K. is probably, running the ball down other teams' throats like he did last season, which would be expected this year, you're going to bring in Coleman. You're going to bring Coleman in to spell JK so that he's hopefully not hurt by week 11 or 10. You want to try to bring in
You
Coleman
want a guy that
can
seal the game in the fourth quarter, late in games.
Exactly. Yep. And then, in my opinion, I think RJ Harvey for my team is going to turn into what we were using Jaleel McLaughlin for last year. I think RJ Harvey is a way better running back than Jaleel. Don't get me wrong. Jaleel had his role for us. He had that like fast burst and stuff. But ultimately, the Denver Broncos want a guy that could pass pro if you absolutely require it. And RJ Harvey fills the combination role that Jaleel ultimately can't do all of the things that you need, but RJ Harvey can. And if RJ Harvey takes a massive leap in his second season, then the Broncos have an even better problem.
which
They
you
got
hope,
three.
right?
Yeah, which is what you're hoping for as a Broncos fan. Which is, oh my gosh, you drafted Coleman, he's showing out. You got J.K., who's you pretty much know what you're getting. He's going to be within the top tier of the running backs. And then if you end up with RJ making that leap and Coleman making that leap and J.K. being there, then man, isn't it awesome having a legitimate problem of not knowing which running back to put on the field?
Yeah.
But my opinion as a Broncos fan, kind of speaking as it were to other teams and other folks coming in here, in my opinion, I think one of the biggest changes on offense for the Broncos is Jonah Coleman. Like he is just a bit of a J.K. Dobbins clone in some regards in terms of kind of like height, size, kind of the sort of things he can
I'm always
do, that
really
sort of thing.
wary, Richie, to like talk highly of a rookie. Like I get what you're saying, and like rightfully so, right? Like best pass blocking, and a lot of these rookies are really polished these days coming in the NFL. But I'm always like a little bit hesitant to, you know, I pump my brakes a little bit talking about the rookies because they're still such an unknown, because they can be like just like what we saw QJ when he came in the league is just complete head case, right? Like just dropping balls left and right, and it's a different game. It's faster.
Yeah, but what
It's
about Hampton?
Omarion. He,
Yeah.
he was solid. Are you talking about like, yeah? But he was a high end draft pick, first
No,
rounder.
I understand, but my point is that on many people's draft boards, Coleman was the number 2 or number 3 running back.
Okay, so you're going from that angle.
That
I got you.
that's my point, right? Is Amarian Hampton was the number 2 or number 3 running back last year on last year's draft. Now,
Yeah,
I agree.
it
He
was
had the measurables.
Genty, Hampton, and the guy from the Patriots, right? What's his name? Really good
I
guy.
can't remember.
From
Yeah, but
he's
either way, the
go ahead.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. You're 100% correct. It was Hampton, Genty. So in that, but it was Genty, Hampton
The
in that
kid from
order. It was
Ohio State who went with the
yeah,
Patriots, really good guy. Henderson, thank you, Biggie.
Henderson. Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
I really liked Henderson as well. But again, the point here is that you guys went out and got a running back. I agree. You draft him in the first, and that's fine and fair, no problem, right? But that's just kind of where the draft last year went.
yeah,
Is
right.
that these running backs were just like they happened to be better than a bunch of other position groups,
Yeah.
and you needed that position, so you went ahead and got your guy. I'm not even blaming your team for doing
No,
that,
no,
right?
I get what you're saying. You're saying that
Yeah.
this draft this year, there's so many other positions that were higher, up on the draft board. You
Dude, the
know,
defensive linemen in this year's draft were insane. Like they
yes,
just were. They were objectively like just really good. um,
yeah,
so, anyways, that's just kind of where I'm at with that, and I just think that uh, just like you experienced with Hampton, just like Henderson came in with the Patriots, just like we've seen with uh, uh, quite a number of rookie
Genty with
running
the
backs.
Raiders. I mean,
Genty with the
playing
Raiders, yeah, yep,
he just a piss poor offense. I mean, it was like mirror image Vegas and LA, but horrible offensive line. And it was so many times I watched that guy just get stuffed behind the line, right? Like had no chance. But then you could just see it. He would just break one off, and you're just like, oh my god. So like
yeah,
in Vegas, if they get that O line figured out,
that would be
watch
a
out for
problem.
Genty. Watch
Yeah,
out for
yeah, that would be a
Genty.
problem.
The kid
Yeah,
he is special. He is
yeah.
special.
But that's exactly the point though, right? Which is running backs are one of the smoothest transitions into the NFL just because they're already used to getting the impact and really the only difference with running backs I find, for example, kind of like quarterbacks by the way in the NFL is slower running backs that are used to being able to win on the outside find out that they have to stay to the inside if they're going to win the battles, as it were. But
RJ Harvey
general
had to learn that.
RJ Harvey's, I think he's a good example of a guy that's
Yeah.
just used to always winning on the outside, and all of a sudden he's like, oh, like welcome to the NFL, rookie.
I got to
Is
cut it
kind of
up.
the yeah, and
Turn up.
and
Turn up.
yeah, I agree. But ultimately, I think it's a position that transitions very well from college to the NFL, and it's one that can do so quickly and do so within the first year, dare I say, seamlessly. Um, One position group, though, which you kind of made a couple comments on, or we've made some comments on the show on, you actually mentioned one of my team's draft picks at that position is the tight end. The
Yeah.
tight end position when you move to the NFL from college is easily amongst one of the hardest to transition to the NFL to,
Well,
because
yes. Up
you're
until recently,
learning.
it was
Yeah,
like who if you draft these guys
it's
up
like
until
3 years in.
Bowers and
Yeah,
Warren and McBride, some of these really high end guys. Uh, it took years before you saw these tight ends mature, and God forbid they had to change an offensive scheme or something, at their team, with their team or whatever. But that's why it was like before those said mentioned guys, the second contract tight ends are the ones that teams went after because they were like, this is when they are ready to rock and roll.
ready to go. They were
They
ready to
were
go. Yeah.
they were like a fine wine. You know what I mean? Like it takes some time for them to get going in the league. I would say also I would say maybe cornerback or linebacker actually maybe. Seems like linebackers take a little bit of time to develop in the league.
Yeah, well, they depending on what their role is, um, they're in a reactive position, so they have to get at a spot where they can start recognizing the more complex offensives that they're seeing at the NFL level in order to dissect them like quickly to get themselves in the right position.
Right.
So I think that makes some sense. Um, but one idea I have, chat and DZ, I think this would be an interesting one for us to dig into, which are maybe let's pick 3 or 4 highlights that are going to be storylines for our team in as these OTAs are getting going. Um, I think the Chargers are going to have a few. I think the Broncos are going to have a few. I already know of just a couple off the top of my head for the Raiders as well, as an example.
Um,
Um, and then the Chiefs, I think there's going to be 1 or 2, including how does Mahomes look and how does their backup look? Do they feel comfortable? Like who's getting the most reps, that sort of thing. So
they've got
I'll throw
drama
over to
with
you.
Rasheed Rice too. You know what I mean? Like I have
That dude
zero.
just does not want to play in the NFL. Like I don't understand, man. I just don't get it. Like you are gifted a tremendous opportunity going to the Super Bowl champions, and you have the opportunity of developing and doing great things, and you're just like, nah, I'm cool. I'm just gonna go ahead and find myself in jail. Like that's great. Let's just do that.
I was just looking. I'm like, who do they have like wide receiver like weapon riser? We know they have Kelsey and Kenneth Walker. So I was just like
Hmm.
looking. Jake, bring a stool, tight end. I'm like looking at some of these. I don't know. I'm just going through their team thing right now because I'm like, outside of Rasheed Rice, oh, they brought over Amari DeMarcado. Okay, let's see. I'm just scrolling through real quick. I just want to see like I know they drafted some guys. Uh,
They did. Yes.
Probably going to have a young weapon core this season because I'm not seeing anybody that is giving me any sort of like panic, wide receiver wise. And I'm not trying to sound cocky. I'm just, Jalen Royals. Eh. But what were you going to shoot at? I'm sorry. I'm looking at their roster real quick. Just going through it. I mean, Kenneth Walker, dude, stud. freaking stud bowling ball.
He will be a legit concern, actually, because they're going to need to be leaning on the run game no matter who's starting at quarterback to start the season for the Chiefs. And so I think
Still
that
got
he kind of
Xavier
knows.
Worthy over there. All right. So they got some guys. I don't care what they say. Mahomes won't be back before week 6. I mean, could very well be Big E.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't mind, but I don't know if they're. Like I said, I can never count them out. Like maybe last year was just their one down year, and they bounced back to being the Chiefs of old. We'll see. I don't see it, but especially with the rest of what the division did with everybody else, what the Broncos looked like last year, my banged up Chargers, what they did, I think our schedules got a lot tougher. That's for sure. Our schedules, we've talked about it. It's brutal. Lost his job to Charbonnet. I was like Sharpine. Yeah, Charbonnet.
Yeah, well, the in my opinion, the Seahawks kind of had this interesting conundrum there, where they had 2 top-tier running backs, but they wanted to run the bell cow running back system. And so they started off, and whichever one seemed to be able to get going the fastest just kind of held on to the ball and kept on going. And Walker just kept on having some slower starts, and so eventually he kind of, tapered off a little bit. But at the end of the day, when it mattered the most, Walker showed that he had the Iron Man blood, and did what needed to get done to ensure his team won that game. Like he was the reason why they won that Super Bowl. Like he was it, man. Like he earned that MVP. Like he was the reason, to his credit. So
what are you saying? You were going to hand it off, talk about, just highlight of OTAs.
OTAs are going to have a couple storylines for each of our teams, right? And so that'll be an interesting discussion for us to kind of bring in with the chat here and whatnot, to kind of talk about 2 or 3 highlight things that we think are going to be big time storylines that we want to pay attention to.
I think like for the chart, one that kind of came to the top of the head with the Chargers is there's a few for me looking at them is the offensive line. Like I guess today, the guys who were the quote unquote starters were the guys that got paid, the most money. And the veterans, it was Rashawn Slater at left tackle, Coyote Awashika, it's a crazy name, at left guard, Tyler Biotish, who, by the way, was on a podcast, and I listened to his podcast. He's got a lot of connections with Joe Alt. Joe Alt came from Notre Dame, and his O-line coach was Tyler Biotish's O-line coach at Wisconsin. So Biotish comes from I think he comes from like a town of like 1,000 people or something, just tiny town, just a corn-fed dude from the Big Ten. And I think like every team wants, a few of those guys on the offensive line. I'm excited about him. Seems like a really good dude. And center was a huge.
They're built different too. Those types of guys, like they're just.
Yeah, he seems like a really great guy, and I can't wait to see him out there. And then it was on the right guard. It was Cole Strange, who not a lot of fans are really happy about, but he is bringing over the McDaniel scheme. So it's like, I'll show you guys as a player coach, what McDaniels expects, kind of thing, with this wide zone. Not good stats. By the way, I think PFF offensive line, we have to get away from that. Like sure, let them grade other positions, but offensive line, like, I don't know what I'm just going to have to trust my eyes. That's what I'll have to do. And then Joel at right tackle, and they had Slaughter working in there, but that's a big thing just to see how this O-line is going to be. Is that going to be the starting offensive line, especially with 2 of those tackles, all pros, Pro Bowl guys, or however you want to call it, coming back from pretty gnarly injuries. But
Major injury. That's the thing.
yeah,
Major injury. Yeah.
they both had pressers, which I was kind of surprised about, and both are ready to rock and roll. Like the beat writers are like trying to ask them, like, "Hey, do you feel like be able to trust yourself or whatever?" And they're like, "I know my body. I'm ready to go," kind of thing. Like, so we'll see. And if they can go, you know, the miracle of modern medicine, because what both of them, like, you know, Joel, everything that could go wrong happened to his ankle, and then Slater, the patella tendon. That's a huge deal. Like, that's no joke. That's a career ender, or at very least, like, if he comes back, I don't expect him to play like Pro Bowl level this year. I think they're going to do a lot of tight end help for him, because that is a gnarly injury for a big man to come back from. But that's
Yeah,
one thing that pops in.
he's got to build up all those small muscles again around it. Is
And the
like
fact that they
it
have
is.
them,
Yeah.
yeah. But the fact that they have them sprinting and running and doing all that kind of stuff, like, you know, all of them are saying, you know, this is more running than I've done in the past, kind of thing. Like, um, I think Slater said, you know, he's doing similar drills than when we had Frank Smith as our O line coach. But yeah, that's one. What's one thing you're looking at with the Broncos?
So, I'm trying to think of which one I want to go with here. Um, so I'm just gonna to call out the big banner thing that's kind of come out the last little bit here. Broncos went into the offseason with one of the worst tight end rooms in maybe even the NFL. Like, it
I'd
was
say from
bad.
a
Like,
production standpoint, yeah.
yeah, it was objectively bad. And there's a dude that's come out, little chirping from the OTAs, but mostly from the rookie mini camp, where it was just, you know, kind of not expected. We'll put it that way. And that is Caleb Lohner,
They
six
talked.
foot seven, 260, 265, somewhere in that range. He's that like magical height weight combination that you want from a tight end. He's a former basketball player, so he's got that like kind of long reach combination athleticism, kind of mixed bag kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
He's put on. He wasn't originally 265 pounds or so. He was actually quite a bit lighter, because of his basketball stuff. And so he was put on a training regimen to bulk up, get bigger, et cetera, et cetera. He followed it to a T. And in the off season, he was given some homework. His homework was to get nastier and learn to absorb impact.
Did you say they
Well,
wanted him to put on weight, or
yeah, yeah,
okay? Yeah, because I think when you
yeah.
guys drafted him, 6'7", 250, like, yeah, dude, massive dude.
He's put on. He's still a huge guy.
Yeah, massive
like
dude.
let's put it this way: 6'7" and 250 is still not a small dude.
No, no.
And then 6'7", 265 ish or so is definitely not a small dude. Like, he's a very he's got that kind of Gronkowski kind of build to him a little bit, um, which is good. Um, and the one thing that was interesting, I think I spoke about it at one of our last pods, but I'll bring it up again. Last year, two things. Number one, but the last 3 or 4 games, 2 or 3 separate teams came to the Broncos and tried to pull him away from our team.
Hmm.
He refused to leave the Broncos. Refused. He just turned them down, said, "No, I'm good." And then Sean Payton and George Payton then rewarded his loyalty to the team with an elevation in week 17 with being active roster game check. And we found out what he had done for the team above and beyond just refusing to leave was he actually started playing scout team, but he played the defense because of his height and speed. And he took the defensive challenge so seriously because he saw it as an opportunity for him to get those physical traits that the team had asked him to try to build upon. And now his teammates are saying it's like watching a different player on the field. He is just playing with like a grit, tenacity, a bit of an anger, if as it were, which is fantastic to hear because you want those kind of like you want those guys that are in that kind of like weird rare air combination at the tight end position. They help you
Right.
win games. It's just a fact. Like it just is what it is. You might remember a guy by the name of Antonio Gates. He kind of fit that particular mold a little bit. You also might remember the Broncos tight end who was a former basketball player, Julius Thomas.
So I'm looking like how many. So you guys had 4 tight ends on the 53
Roster
last
last
year.
year. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So who's who got cut?
And
Who's gone? Is it
and
Kroll or
here's my hot
Atkins?
take. So here's my hot take. I think the team is going to cut Ingram.
Yeah, you said that earlier, and that to me probably makes the most sense
Yeah.
if Jolly takes that leap forward. Somebody's got to be the odd man out there though, like because you guys drafted Jolly. You're talking about Loner, and then I mean what I'm looking at: Evan Ingram, Adam Troutman, Lucas Kroll, Nate Atkins. Who's those
Well,
guys still
Krull
all
is
on that
gone.
team? Okay, so
Krull
that's a
is gone.
spot.
Krull's gone.
That's probably
Krull's
Jolly's
gone.
spot right now.
Yeah, so Krull's gone, in my opinion. He's not going to win that out. Um, Dallin Bentley he's that dirty yard guy. He's the dude that's going to be that extra lineman that can also pass catch a little bit and whatnot. I don't think the Broncos are going to want to let him go, so I think they're going to try to do what they can to keep him as well. So, and then I have to re-look at Troutman's contract, but the last time I looked at it, I don't think they have the like. It's not like the Broncos aren't used to being able to play with dead cap on the roster, as it were. I
Right,
mean,
right.
Russell Wilson. Uh,
I think he
but
just retired today. Breaking
yeah, he
news.
did. He did.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but remember, I mean, he was never the problem. He always did such wonderful things, and everyone else around him had all of the issues. He was just perfect, according to Russ, because Russ is one of one. Number three. Um,
We'll miss his
Anywho,
important takes.
yeah, the Danger Witch, baby, the Danger Witch. Anyways, when we look at the Broncos tight end room, it's been quite fascinating for me to watch that it went from one of the position groups that a lot of Broncos country was like, ugh, oh no, this is a problem, where I'm actually super excited about the tight end room now for my team. I'm looking at Caleb Lohner. I'm looking at my guy Nate Atkins. By the way, within Broncos country, I might be the only guy that's like the Nate Atkins fanboy, which probably
Right.
means he's going to get cut just like the other guys that I seem to like. Which, by the way, the guys that get cut go into other teams and are the staple tight end in the blocking, pass catching
Well, I mean,
combo
tight
role.
ends that get released, and one man's trash is another man's treasure, especially in
Yeah,
your position.
exactly. Yeah. So,
So
you remember Sobert
yeah,
from the Denver
Robert.
Broncos? Like
Yeah,
he went on to kill it with the Dolphins for a good period of time there. Um, that was back when they were good. And then he got cut from the Dolphins as a cap casualty. But again, these tight ends and the tight end group that we have here with the Denver Broncos, you have Justin Jolly, Dallin Bentley, Caleb Lohner. And then the question is, you're then looking at one of, in my opinion, Ingram, Troutman, Atkins, and Krull. And the question then is, does Nate Atkins show up as being the dark horse because he can also play fullback? So if Prentice goes down, Atkins can kind of fill
Yeah,
in.
I mean, that's
And
yeah.
like that's positional value right there. Whereas
Mhm.
Troutman and
And then
Ingram and
special teams
Kroll
too.
don't. And special teams, Atkins is an ace on special teams as well.
Yeah.
So again, it's possible that Atkins
Dude,
could be the fourth as a result.
I mean, yeah, like I don't know. Maybe they do value Ingram, and maybe they just last season was a wash, and then they just pair him with Jolly, right? And you have these two versatile or elite, higher end pass catching tight end guys, and then you have one blocking dude, and then Nate Atkins, who's also the other blocking but slash fullback type. It's gonna be
Yep.
an interesting way how they
Yep.
go by. But I mean, look, like you said, Ingram could be a cut,
Yeah.
or
Well, he's a cut, and he's a net positive if he gets cut. He ends up saving us another few $1,000,000.
there you go. He'll get
So
snatched though quick. Yeah,
he
he'll
will,
get.
but if we're gonna be honest, he really did not do. He did almost nothing for the Broncos
It
last
could
year.
have just been the offense. Could have been like the chemistry he had with Bo, or maybe just he didn't pick up that offense. I don't know. It could have been a lot of reasons, because we had what brought over, I think it was Tyler Conklin, and I was super excited for him, and it just was a horrible pairing with him in LA. Like I was just like, what the hell is going on? And I think
Yeah.
he went to another team, but watch him ball out with this new team that he's on. It's just different situations.
Yeah. And if I'm looking over at the Raiders, my take on the Raiders right now is going to be I'm not sure that the OTAs are going to be something to necessarily look out for, but I think that when the OTAs and camp and stuff eventually starts transitioning into the preseason games for the Raiders, my biggest one for them is going to be um, does Mendoza start making it difficult for the Raiders to stick with Kirk Cousins?
Yeah.
Um, it's something that I brought up before, and I think it's actually kind of an important piece to mention here, which is you spoke about Russell Wilson,
Right.
but if you remember, the Seahawks had just paid a boatload of money uh, to a quarterback on their roster when Russ was drafted, and
You got my brain moving. I'm like,
it's either Hasselback. It might have been Hasselback or Castle. I can't remember which. Um, but they extended the quarterback that was on the team at the time, and Wilson basically outright took in his rookie year the starting job.
I'm looking it up. Let's see. Matt Flynn.
Was it Matt Flynn?
Oh, it says Seahawks intended starting quarterback with Russell Wilson was drafted. 12 was Matt Flynn. Seattle signed Flynn as a high profile free agent that March, a month
Yes.
before the draft. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So is Flynn.
It was Flynn, Tavarius Jackson, Josh Portis. Dudes I totally forgot about, to be honest with you. But
Yeah. But
yeah.
it was Flynn. So Flynn, if I'm not mistaken, had a bit of an up year, and then the Seahawks brought him in as like their de facto starter, and it was just assumed that Flynn was going to be the starter there and with Seattle, and they drafted this young kind of short baseball kid named Russell Wilson, and he balled out in preseason. Like he literally balled out in preseason and made it undeniable that he was the guy that they should start because he was making plays and extending plays with his legs and stuff and throwing incredibly accurate balls.
I think whatever happens with the Raiders, like between Kirk and I think Aiden O'Connell's still on that team as well. But with
Mhm.
Kirk and Mendoza, I think whatever happens is going to be a win-win. Like, I get what you're saying. Like, it's going to be tough to just sit this guy if he's just fantastic, which rightfully so could very well be.
Yes.
But like Kirk Cousins mentoring him, or this guy kind of watching from the bench, just trying to get feel what's going on. I don't know. It's just a win-win. I feel like it's like let him sit for a few games, have him play a few games. Who knows? I think could very well.
Yeah, so Paul, we did kind of cover that off slightly earlier in the show. I'm not a fan of bringing in an inside linebacker like Wagner, in my opinion. We spoke about it earlier on the show. I think you may be a fan of a few other. Dude, don't worry about it. We're all friends here, and fellow Broncos fan, obviously here, and frankly, my fellow
Is
co-hosts,
Bobby
especially
still a
when they're
free
all
agent?
here. He is. Wagner is a free agent, but just my general take on the linebacker spot, which by the way, DZ, just in full disclosure, is my second thing that I'm looking out for in OTAs. I may as well just cover it off here. We have Jordan Turner, Corinne Reed, and Lavelle Bailey, in addition to Alex Singleton, who's basically going to be the de facto starter along with Stranad. Now, I am not a huge Justin Stranad fan. I think he's good. I just don't think he's great. But if you look at Jordan Turner, Corinne Reed, and Lavelle Bailey, those are three players that in various parts of their career with the Denver Broncos have been very good. Corinne Reed had some really amazing plays until he kind of had a little bit of an injury, which kind of held him back. And if we're going to be honest, Jordan Turner was the best or one of the best fill-ins at inside backer for our team. We spoke about this earlier on the show, DZ. Inside linebackers take a little bit of developmental time because they're having to process the game at a different speed when they come to the NFL now. And Paul, I'm going to throw an old name out to you, and I'm curious as to your gut reaction when I say it. Josie Jewell, the outlaw. Now, in my opinion, and again, this is an unpopular one in Broncos country, I thought he was trash up until his last year. Josie Jewell was kind of slow, didn't have the sideline to sideline speed, but he was a good locker room guy, played special teams, etc., etc. Until his last year with the Broncos, he was lights out in his last year with the Broncos. To your point, DZ, he was processing. That's funny. So the long and the short of it is that he was not great in his first little block of time here until the last year, where you saw him. He kind of knew the play before it was going to start because remember, like literally, just like we just said earlier, is it takes a while. It takes a while for them to process the plays that are before them and being able to know exactly what's going to happen so they can kind of predict where they need to be to get themselves in the right spot, make the play, make the tackle, etc. Josie Jewell struggled to get himself in that right spot, and he was not the fastest player. So, in order for him to make up for his lack of athleticism, he had to dissect the play faster so he could basically get himself into position in advance and kind of preempt the offensive player and win the battle. Um, and it got to a point where he was having one heck of a season before he got hurt in his last season with the Broncos, and it just didn't work out for him ultimately long term. But Corinne Reed, Jordan Turner, and Lavelle Bailey, I think are sufficient options for us. I think Corinne Reed and Jordan Turner in specifically are guys that we need to see how they develop in that second year of progression at the NFL level. That's my honest opinion there. And then we also have Red Murdoch and a guy that I was not a fan of because I think he's just a little too small for the NFL, but again, happy to be proven wrong in Torian York. And then the other guy that I really like is Desan McCullough. He's 6'5", 240 pounds ish. He's a guy that, in my opinion, is a better version of Stranad because he's got a larger frame, taller, great for tight end coverage, etc. And he's a converted, or I think he'll be a converted outside linebacker moving into the inside linebacker's position with the Denver Broncos. So ultimately, in my opinion, I can at least get myself to where you're at, Paul, as it pertains to the interior defensive line. We have a couple unproven guys there in the young rookie contracts and whatnot. And the Broncos are definitely in a little bit of a win now mode, being that the fact that we're in Bo Nix's rookie contract. So I'm not basically.
Which makes me think,
I'm
do you
not,
think like any, like what you just said and like looking at free agents, like I'm like, can you see them bringing in another guy like Von Miller, perhaps, kind of just, or do you think
Vaughn
of
is
Von
definitely
Miller?
a possibility.
Because, that goes along with that Aaron Donald thing. I was thinking like maybe, he might just come around when the playoffs start kind of thing.
So
like
here's
could
the
that
other
be the
option.
case with the Broncos?
If Vaughn and Aaron Donald both really want to play and they both want to try to play for a contender, it would be in their interest, in my opinion, for them to have a discussion with one another, recognize that they are definitely closer to the sunset than they are not.
Yeah.
And basically say, we will both take incentive-laden veteran minimum style deals.
I mean,
But we
Von
want to
Miller
be on
is
the same team.
37. It's funny how they do it, but he's 37 years old in 2 months. So he's up there in age. 15 years in the league, man. I mean, impressive.
Yeah. Well, and he's still producing at a reasonable level. Like he's not a slouch. Like he is.
There's some interesting names. I
Mhm.
keep interrupting you, but there's some interesting names that are still available as free agents. A lot of them are, wily vets, right? Up
Yes.
there in their late 20s, early 30s. So it just makes me think that a lot of these guys are like, I do not want to do camp if I don't have to, right? Like,
Yep.
So yeah, a lot of these guys are probably going to be on teams sooner than later, but
So my thought process would be Aaron Donald, if he really wants to come back, should pair himself with a guy like Von Miller. Both take like an incentive-laden vet minimum deal. Basically say, send me the playbook and I'll be there.
Wouldn't it be more like a deferred pay, like a deferred thing? So like they're not like affecting the cap at all. It's like, hey, yeah, dude, we'll just take care of you later. It'll be like all signing bonus or something.
No, they don't. You don't want to do that because then you're taking. Well, I mean, for a team like the Broncos who have ownership that can basically just.
I think you guys have the most. I think you guys Broncos have the wealthiest ownership group in the league, if I'm not mistaken.
It's not even close.
Yeah, I think it's like 77 billion or something. Like absolutely.
Yeah, like it's like 5x or 10x the next closest owner.
It's
Like
freaking bananas, dude. I mean, they could literally, if the NFL didn't have rules, like the Broncos could just be like what the Dodgers are doing, just deferring payments and just sign whoever, whenever to like the craziest thing. But I think then the league would strike or something. I don't know.
The problem is, I think the NFL really wants all of the owners to play within the same box.
Yep. That's why they have those meetings every year. Yeah. Make sure everybody's like getting along and
yeah.
Yeah.
Because as much as they are an entertainment league, they want to at least present the illusion that there's a sport involved here as well.
I love how you said that. I mean, dude, it's always in the back of our head, I mean, you can't fake the way they play, but there's a lot of other things that you just go, what's going on?
Yeah. So, Paul, real quick, and by the way, this was my second OTA thing to keep an eye on, is linebacker. So we have Red Murdoch, Torian York, Jordan Turner, Corinne Reed, Lavelle Bailey, and I'm adding in Desan McCullough into that group, in my opinion. So you have Desan McCullough and those other five, who I believe are going to be competing for what is probably going to be 2 to 3 inside linebacker positions on this roster. Inside linebackers also are traditionally used on special teams a fair amount by the Denver Broncos. So I do think that there's going to be an appetite, at least, for a fifth to stay on the roster at the inside backer position. And so those are the guys. Now, let's also remember here, just as an aside, that Singleton and Strnad are basically your earmark starters. Those are the two guys you can basically pencil in week one, starter one, starter two. So now it's all right. Linebacker 3, linebacker 4, and perhaps if you're good enough to force a linebacker 5. So you have basically 6 dudes for 3 spots at the most. Likely only 2, which means you have 6 guys for 2 spots.
Yeah.
So again, it's a positional group that we came into this season thinking as Broncos fans that it was one of the weakest positional groups on the roster.
On the defensive
I
side.
did on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
But again, I think the team did some solid work in the offseason. And if I was actually never that low on our inside linebacker room. I just thought that we needed to let the guys develop. But the narrative was that it was a weak room. I actually think it's going to turn out to be not necessarily a strength of the team, but it's certainly not going to be a weakness. I think it'll be in that upper middle tier of the team in terms of positional groups, in my opinion. And I also think we're going to have at least 2.
Linebackers get hurt a lot too, so
Yeah.
it's good to have a rotation of linebackers in there.
So I think we're going to have 2 on the practice squad as a result.
It's
of
a
that as well.
drastic step back when you like if you got a guy out there who's got a few years under his belt or is a really solid linebacker, and then he comes out and then they throw in like the rookie or the 1-year dude, right? You can tell like he's slower. It's like, yeah, very hesitant, more like, it's he's getting taken for a ride, by running backs or, tight ends are crossing his face, things like that.
And sorry, this is Paul's comment on Red Murdoch. Again, he's kind of in a similar mold to like a Jordan Turner, Corinne Reed, maybe a Lavelle
That was
Bailey.
Mr. Irrelevant, right? Or
He was, yeah. But he had 17 forced fumbles last season.
That's crazy. Where did
That's
he play?
insane. So
he had let's see. Red
So-
Murdoch, where'd you play, dude?
again, like Red Murdoch, in my opinion, is probably going to bump Lavelle Bailey. And then the question is going to be Jordan Turner. That's over his career. Over his career. And I think that Torian York, Jordan Turner, Corinne Reed, and Desan
He's
McCullough.
from Buffalo.
Yeah.
That's
I
cool.
think-
I mean, that's where Khalil Mack came from the Mack.
Yes. Yep. So in my opinion, I think you're going to have 2 or 3 of these linebackers that are going to stick around overall. The question is how many of them are going to make their way and stick on the 53 versus practice squad. But again, my whole point here is I honestly and truly believe that the Broncos are going to have a much better inside linebacker corps than most people believe. In addition to that, Broncos country, remember, Jonah Ellis is a player that the Broncos want on the field more, like a lot more. And he is going to be stepping in at inside backer, likely to spell Singleton if I'm reading between the tea leaves right, in the speed style sets where they want to have nothing but coverage guys on the field, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think that's the
Good.
I think that's the
So
yeah, the two Khalils from Buffalo. That was literally the thing out of the draft, which
I mean,
was
their first
crazy,
names are spelt differently, but that's
but the same. Yeah,
pretty funny coincidence. Two
yeah,
Khalils came from Buffalo. I mean, dude, yeah, if he could have any, if he could have a percentage of Khalil's, success in the league, like what a steal that would be,
yeah,
especially Mr.
yeah,
Irrelevant. I mean,
yeah.
linebacker, like I was so high on Junior Colson, who came over with Harbaugh from Michigan, and he was I think one of the team captains. They won the national championship. He was playing the same, pretty much same defense from Michigan into the NFL. And one thing, I mean, it could have been he had his, appendicitis, or he had all these. It was just like this long list of excuses, but it just hasn't taken off. And we're going in year 3 with him. So that's a guy with the Chargers that I'm got my eye on, because I was so high on this guy as being plug and play as a linebacker, rookie year, and did not come to fruition at all. Looked lost out there, was slow, like I kind of mentioned before. And then last year, I think they just said they shut him down. He had another injury, and they're like, yeah, we're done with this experiment. We're going to bring in another guy. And then we had a guy, Marlo Wax, who I want to say was a UDFA. I'm not 100% on that. And he looks like he's got some potential. And so there's spots open. It's kind of similar. We got similar things. Like, well, I wouldn't call our linebacker room a strength, actually. Definitely, it's probably our linebacking core is probably the weakest on the team, even though Deion Henley's pretty good. Yeah, I would say that's probably the weakest position group, in my opinion, right? On the defense. But if Junior Colson can get going and he could hit, then it sure settles some things out.
So, what's another one of those things you're looking for in your team in OTAs?
So I mentioned the offensive line. I think we'll probably see a lot of vanilla schemes with the offense, right?
Yep.
I think it's just going to be meshing. It's just going to be building chemistry. It's going to be reps after reps after reps, right? Kind of thing. And, they'll still be installing weeks into the season and adding. And I'm actually, the things that are coming out about, albeit his goofy ass, Mike McDaniel, the dude is got a lot of high praise for what he's done these last few decades, with however long he's been in the game, with football. He's been around some really impressive coaches, like the Raiders with Kubiak, right? Like he's like, I think he, got tutelage from his father, right? And now he's going to be coaching against his son against the Raiders, which I thought was kind of interesting. But so I would say the easiest thing would say offense. I'm not going to say that. I actually want to get a better look at the defense if that's possible at all, right? Because you only can get what they show you, right? So it might be. That's why I'm hoping they have a joint practice, or I want to see the rotation, because now I'm hearing that this defense is supposed to be different than it was last year, which I'm not a huge fan of. But new DC now, he wants to put his flavor on the defense. One of the things that came out about the defense, the Chargers were one of the lowest. What is it? Lowest. What the heck is that term I'm looking for? They. Why can't I say it? Why can't I think about it? I'm getting like a complete brain fart right now. They were a very low. Throwing extra men, dude. I can't believe I'm having this kind of a brain freeze right now. Blitz. There we go. They were a
blitz
low,
packages?
yeah, very low percentage in blitzing with Minter, and I from everything I'm hearing, it that is going to be like a 180. They're going to go very high blitz package. Um, I guess from everything saying with this new DC, what he likes to do, he likes to blitz. He likes to send extra guys. I think that's kind of the same thing with the Broncos, right? No, maybe not. Do they? I don't know. So yeah, that it's because blitzing is great, but that could backfire. You know what I mean? You got delayed handoffs, things like that.
Yep.
But like a lot of things got to work. They got new. They want to try to run a new style of defense with pretty much the same players. Maybe some additions and subtractions. Odafe always not there. You're gonna hope Mesidor can be solid, which I think he could, and then there's going to be some position battles on that edge side with Kyle Kennard and UDFA Nadam Tucker, who was with our DC at Western Michigan, who is one of those old, like 15-year senior kind of guys. What was he, like 30 years old being as a UDFA or something like that, just like Mesidor. I mean, we'll see. I hope they'll be good. I've got confidence in who they brought in. Looks like they finally got some sort of depth, at O-line. I would say pass catching wise, I'm still like on the fence, right? There's no like, it's not household names. And Lad McConkey hasn't been out there. I guess he's playing golf, so I have no clue what the hell that's all about. I mean, people got priorities. And then, so for me, it's the second thing overall. Long, to make a short answer long or long answer short, would just be the defense. Like, I want to see what that's going to look like. What are going to be the changes? Because what I'm thinking, Richie, is like, if it's not broke, why are you fixing it, kind of thing. And the defense overall,
the Chargers were so close. The Chargers were so close last year. They really were. So
the defense, to me, I thought was, let's see, what are the Chargers 2025 Chargers defense? Let me just look it up real quick, just to see defensive ranking. Just so they were fifth in yards allowed, points allowed ninth. There's another fifth in another thing. Passing defense, they were fifth. Passing touchdowns allowed, fifth. Interceptions, they were seventh. Rushing defense, they ranked eighth. Rushing touchdowns allowed, they ranked 13th. So that was kind of their end yards per. So they were pretty poor against the run because they were 13th in rushing touchdowns allowed, and yards per carry allowed, they were 15th. But I mean, if you look at everything else, you are in the upper echelon in defense last year. And like I'm saying is, like I was kind of saying, it's like if it's not broke, why fix it? If they try to do something drastic, it could be a mistake, in my opinion.
Yep, I think that's fair. So I'm going to cover off my third and last thing for my Broncos in the OTA side thing here. But I do want to quickly cover off the Broncos announced that they are bumping Pat Surtain's salary for this year.
I saw that.
They gave him a $5 million pay bump this year as a reward for his quality play. There's also a couple other incentives to allow him to earn a little bit more than that as well. But by and large, I think it was earned. The one thing that a lot of people forget is when Pat Surtain was extended, he was almost immediately dwarfed like by three other contracts, like one after the other. and he's outplayed every other player that was signed after him. So,
Yeah,
like,
that's what we're
he,
seeing now, Rich. Right? Like it's
yeah,
like all these players. Like okay, for instance, Nick Herbig, I think just got a deal, right? Massive deal, like 4 year, $100 million deal or whatever. And you're just like I'm thinking, I'm like, yeah, he was decent, but it wasn't great. And you're just like, and then
mhm,
it got me thinking, I'm like, well, the Chargers got to pay Tooley soon. And I'm like, Tooley played a hell of a lot better than this guy did. And I'm like, oh God, these deals are just one upping, right? It's just this constant. It's got to break. It's got to stop somewhere. And Sertan, as one of the top cornerbacks in the league,
yeah,
and the Broncos got him at a bargain. So it's like, hey, we got to throw this guy a bone here or there to keep him happy. And like, look,
yep.
dude, we love you, brother. You know what I mean?
I actually didn't have. So here's my thing that I would like players to come out and praise. I would like to start hearing these players with teams like what the Broncos are doing with Sertan to praise what the Broncos did publicly, because the Broncos paid Sertan quite a bit of money, but he was immediately dwarfed, and he he's literally the top corner in the NFL. Like, he just is. Like
Yeah. What
he
did
is.
I say something wrong? The top corner you meant? That's
Well,
what I
you said
said.
he's one of the top corners. The short answer, honestly, is
Oh,
like
okay, my
like
bad.
yeah,
He's the
he's
top
he's
corner.
literally the top corner in the NFL, which
Okay.
is true. Like, it's objectively true. And the other piece is that it's also kind of one of those interesting stats where he is so good at what he does that teams won't throw to his side of the
Yeah.
field.
Right.
Like, so, like, he doesn't
When
even get
when
to
a
make
receiver
the
catches a
stats that
yeah, because there was a
yeah.
game we were playing you guys, and yeah, you always hear the commentators are like, why, like anytime anybody catches the ball where Pat Sertan's covering, you're just like, ooh, you're playing with fire. And you are. But there was, I think it was like we were playing you guys. I don't know if it was it had to have been last season, one game, and they kept throwing to a guy that Sertan, but it was like, God, and it's just like stop effing throwing that way. Just stop. And I think you guys got an interception or two. I want to say it was a game. I don't know if it was Sertan that got it though. But it's just like, yeah, it's just sometimes you have no option, but because he's on
Yep.
your top guy, right? And
Yep.
you're gonna be like, hey, look, dude, you better go out there and make a play somehow, figure it the f
You get
out.
paid too. You get paid
Yeah,
too. You got to
right.
try to make that play, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So, I have an interesting one, and this is I'm going to go a little bit higher level on this, but I think it's going to be an interesting piece, and I'm curious as to your take as well as the chat's take on this. With Bo Nix's contract coming up in the very near future, my Denver Broncos are going to have to start finding more and more late rounds and UDFAs that can fill into elite level roles on the roster in order to keep the team competitive in the
Mm,
long term.
bargain bin vets. That's another way
Yeah.
to supplement the
Yep.
roster.
Exactly. Now, what does that mean? Well, in the OTAs, or for the OTAs, in my opinion, one of the big things that's going to need to come out of OTAs for my Broncos is a few various positional groups. One of them is going to be wide receiver. We have a handful of wideouts that are in the OTAs that are, I can't believe they were not drafted. We'll just put it that way.
Okay.
Well, I just can't believe it. I literally cannot believe it. So I'm going to give you two names to look up. One of them is Cameron Ross and Colby Katsis. That's Katsis. Colby Katsis is the
Is it
like the banner
C?
UDFA.
Okay.
Katsas. Um, Colby Kolbe, just like the basketball
Oh,
player.
KO. Okay.
Yeah, and we are a developmental team now.
There's his problem. His pigment doesn't match
But
on this kid. Let's see. Colby, 185, 6'1". NAU Lumberjacks. Where the hell is that at? Big Sky. Wait. Is so? Oh, what the? I'm still trying to decide. FCS guy. I mean, that's another reason, Richie. I mean, it's just the school. It's the where he played. You know what I mean? Like Pittsburgh State. Northern Arizona. Okay, but is that the up to date deal? Let's just see. I'm sorry. I'm looking up what you told me to do. I want to see these guys.
Yeah.
So
these guys are wicked fast. They're great route runners. They're return guys. They have like a plethora of skills.
Ooh, he had a lot of production at Northern Arizona.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Look at that, dude.
Yes.
60 receptions for 1,068 yards, 10 touchdowns last fall, 17 kick returns for 5. Dude, this guy seems to be like a stud. And Peyton figures out a way with some of these stats. I mean,
that's Katzis, right?
Yeah. I'm looking at Colby Katzis. Yeah.
And then Cameron Ross is another guy.
I'm gonna look him up. Right. I like this Katzis kid, man. I mean, look, dude, if Vlad McConkey can do it, like, why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cameron Ross.
So where I'm going with this is you have Katzis, who's a crisp route runner. He's a potential kick return option. By the way, Broncos country, you all remember what happened when Mims went down? Marvin Mims went down, and our kick return and punt return game went down with it. And so, and I think the writing is a little bit on the wall. I don't believe the Broncos are going to keep Mims. I think they're going to kind of ride his contract out and then like attempt to replace him. So getting these guys in a pipeline where they can start bringing them in on cost control deals and that sort of thing, in my opinion, is going to be the Broncos' MO for a little bit as we work through some of the veteran.
Richie, what I just got from reading both these prospects is the Broncos want to upgrade their special teams.
Yep.
That's what I'm getting from both these cats is that they got two guys that were returners that have some receiver skills, but have got some juice. So yeah, man, it looks like these guys. This is gonna be a competition to see who can be the returner, because I don't know who's been your guys' returners last year. Do you remember who was like
Pro Bowl return man Marvin Mims?
Okay. So do you think they might
slouch.
be? No, Mims is electric, right?
Yeah.
But what I just saw with these two guys, I mean, Mims goes down, they want a guy that can just, pick it up kind of thing, or not put Mims in that position. But I don't know, you guys have a pretty deep wide receiver room. I mean, Franklin, Sutton, little Jordan Humphrey, Mims, now Waddle. I don't know. That's pretty deep. I don't think there's much room for another guy. Maybe 6. What I think you carry 6 on the 53.
We carried 5 last year, but I think we might carry 6 this year.
You could, yeah.
In my opinion, this is kind of where I think it's going to happen. Either Katzis or Ross are going to blow the doors off in preseason. One of the two guys is going to absolutely kill it.
Ooh, Paul thinks Little Jordan's gone.
No, I don't think he's gone. I think he'll end up with the practice squad. You're going to get the Little Jordan Humphrey practice squad elevation periodic thing. We still need Pat Bryant to show that he can maintain.
Isn't Little Jordan probably your only like possession wide receiver type of guy? Like jump ball.
Well, Cortland Sutton, but You have Courtland Sutton and Lil Jordan Humphrey. They're both possession style wide receivers. Both of them have the ability to block in the run game, which is a big deal for Sean Payton.
Yeah.
And where Broncos country is waiting, like legitimately waiting for Pat Bryant to level himself up to get
Pat Bryant,
into.
that's another guy I
Yes.
didn't mention. Jesus.
Mhm.
Dude, I mean,
Yeah,
that's
he's
a
good too. Like he's
yeah.
great. He's good too. He really is. But so you have Pat Bryant, Waddle,
Or
Sutton,
yeah. Damn.
but he's a
He's
really,
Little Jordan like
really
6'4", like if I'm
he's
not mistaken.
6'5" and like 230.
Yeah, so that's what I'm kind of meant. Like he's your big body wide receiver. If I'm
Yes,
you know,
he is a wide receiver, but he's basically a tight end.
skinny tight end. Yeah.
He's a skinny tight end, exactly.
So
Yeah.
yes, what I'm getting is like because we're highlighting those two UDFAs, Colby and Cameron. Immediately, just read their bios in their production in college. It's like I'm like, okay, Broncos look like they want to upgrade their special teams, or these could just be camp bodies, not have Mims do it during camp, or can one of these guys take Mims' spot and they don't have to put Mims in that position, right? On punt returns or kick returns, kind of thing.
That's entirely possible too, where they have Mims try to play more on offense and have one of these guys take over the punt return, kick return duty, combination pieces, try to have Mims show additional value, et cetera, et cetera. That's possible. And so basically it's you have Sutton, Waddle, Franklin, and Pat Bryant and Marvin Mims. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys that are basically a lock to make the roster.
Right. It's a
So
lot of
you are
mouths to
now
feed, man.
I agree, but you are now having probably one other spot as a incentive laden spot based on production in the preseason and OTAs and camp
Yeah.
that has the possibility of going to one of, I'm going to give a few names here, Little Jordan Humphrey, Colby Katzis, Dane Key, who is Devin Key. He's a kind of a depth piece on the defense and a special teams ace for us on the team. It's his brother. Joseph Manjack and Cameron Ross. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys that are basically fighting for one potential, not even guaranteed,
Potential.
potential.
I mean, they can
throw
land on the
in
practice
spot.
squad, and that's
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like 5 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, if you want to say it, one of these guys is going to get called up sometime during the season because you're going to have a wide receiver battle within Boo Boo here or there, right? And say something, say Franklin, right? Say Franklin like goes down or needs a week or two. They're not going to have Mims running special teams. They'll bring up whoever wins that battle in camp, right? Like with these UDFAs or whoever you mentioned, that will be the guy that pops up, who's called up for a game or two. So, I think essentially these guys are fighting for a practice squad spot, in my opinion. You're fighting
It's
for a
quite
practice
possible.
because
It's quite possible. Yep.
Mims is still not, like he is still low man on the totem pole, because now you have Waddle and Sutton, right? That's your A and B, right? 1 and 2 kind of thing. So de facto Franklin, Mims, Pat, Little Jordan Humphrey, those are, it's a ladder to climb. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, but Mims is your speed guy though, right? He's
the speed guy, but that's why I like Katzis and Ross is because Katzis and Ross have proven in their respective college careers to be more involved on the offensive side of the ball as true contributers.
Colby, his production just last year is fantastic.
Insane. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so he's a legit candidate. Like honestly and truly, if you're to tell me right now today, that you've seen the future and he makes the 53-man roster, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, he could be
Like,
one
yeah,
of those
I'm not
special
surprised.
white
Yeah,
boys
yeah,
that
yeah,
figures
yeah,
it out like
yeah.
Woodhead or what was that
Yep.
other guy from
Welker
Julian Edelman kind of guy, Wes
or
Welker
Welker.
style.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. But again, I could see that happening. Now, bringing us to another position group, and that is the offensive linemen. The Broncos have carried between 9 and 10 linemen on the roster on the offensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
The Broncos are in a rather unique position. This, like, as in, I actually can't remember another team that's been in the same position as the Broncos in my memory, actually. So the Broncos had their starting guard go down last season.
Yep. Balcho.
Palcho stepped in, and there was literally zero production change at all.
I mean, that's like. I'm not. I don't want to. I'm not discrediting him at all because I think he was fantastic. But that's what happens when you have good, solid offensive line and you have a foundation there. Like it's
Yeah.
like these guys are practicing. They're with these guys, every day, right? And they're just biding their time, ready to jump in. And he didn't miss a beat, dude. Right?
Yep.
Like that's what I think every team is aspiring to have an offensive room like that. It's on the any room, but on the O line especially how valuable offensive line is these days. I mean, it's as a Chargers fan, I've had PTSD. It's just years like, oh god, But if you got a solid dude that can back them up, you're just like, oh okay, we'll be all right.
So we have Frank Crum, who was the Viking-looking dude that caught the touchdown pass last year, like that, just like enormous human being with the blonde hair. He's a swing tackle for us, a backup tackle, that sort of deal. And so,
another point.
Yeah, we have Valet as well. That was the guy. Remember, I
No,
predicted
but
him to the Broncos.
Paul brought up a point. Like, you guys could very well trade another guy to a needy team because your wide receiver room is pretty deep, right?
Yeah.
And it's still young guys, and they're on. I think you have what
Rookie
Franklin
deals.
and Mims are still on rookie contracts.
Franklin,
pretty sure.
Bryant, and Mims are all on rookie contracts.
Yeah, so these guys are all super young and like just
cheap.
Yeah, shits and giggles. If
Yeah.
you did have to trade a guy and you traded one of them, a lot of teams would jump. Oh, they're young, ready to rock and roll. We see what they did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, kind of thing.
Yeah. So the way I'm looking at the Broncos overall here is we have Cage Casey on the offensive line, who we drafted. We've got Miller as a tackle that we drafted as a UDFA or brought in as a UDFA. He's the guy that I think is like the guy to look out for.
The Miller guy.
The Miller guy. And overall, when you look at linemen and tackles in particular, if you can find one of the tackle positions as a UDFA or mid to late rounds, and they can end up being a like true legitimate starter. Like, I mean, like upper end legitimate starter. You're in like the 1 percentile in the NFL.
Yeah, you're in rare air.
Like rare air. Like rare air. And the Broncos have got quite a bit of a room there in the UDFA tackles. Like Crum was UDFA. We have another dude, I can't remember his name, UDFA. Then we got Miller, UDFA. These guys have all started games or played as a additional lineman. Even at that position as a UDFA is putting you in an upper tier of finding guys and developing guys.
Yep.
And so Palcho, UDFA. Started at right tackle in place of McGlinchey, and the run game actually got better. So he had some work to do in the pass pro side, but honestly, like Again, like Palcho just got extended this past offseason, by the way, for 3 years. So again, uh, finding guys like this that are truly like developing up to a caliber that is rare air is unheard of in the quantity and volume that the Broncos have really been able to do in the offensive line
Yeah.
room. And but the Broncos are going to have Bo Nix's contract coming up. We're also playing pretty well. So we're not going to necessarily get the top 5 pick or top 3 pick or whatever the case may be in order to get that replacement left or right tackle in the top tier rounds. So we need to be very mindful about how we're doing things and why we're doing things so that we can get value players in the UDFA and later rounds of the draft that are starters for us so that because we might need as the Broncos, like this is just a real possibility that Broncos country needs to be made aware of it and really think through. There may come a time in the next year or two where we're going to be in like the late 20s and 30s in terms of pick position in the draft, and we might have to trade half of our draft capital to move up into the top 5 just to get a tackle to replace a Garrett Bowles or Mike McGlinchey if we can't get one as a gem in the NFL draft in these like UDFA later rounds. It is a legit possibility. And yes, I mean, this is obviously the hope here, Paul, but you know, we are picking in the very late portion of the draft this
Which
year.
made me think about like the Miles Garrett trade. Like those picks are going to be very late first round picks that they got from the Rams, right? Like
Yep.
say even if the Rams don't make it, they're sure going to probably go really far in the NFC. Like, so it's like, who won that trade? I don't know, like Jared Verse,
Well,
and it's just.
yeah. I think that the Rams are valuing production now versus potential later. And I
I
mean,
think McVay
let's
only
put it this
coaches
way,
for another year or two. To be honest with you, I think
but he's still so
McVay's.
young.
I think his wife. What I hear is that his wife wants to be done with it. Like even though he's young, he's been around it like damn near their whole
Yeah,
life. I think he
yeah.
goes into like media or something, or does something in the background. I like my look at what is it? It's June 3rd. We're in 2026. I think that he only coaches another year or two. I think after Stafford's
Well,
gone, I don't think he wants to, because look at ultimately, no matter what they do, they're building for a Super Bowl this year in LA, right? It's SoFi, right?
yes.
And say, whatever, say it happens or it doesn't happen, all these players that they traded for and got over, it's going to come crumbling down, eventually. Like it did after their last Super Bowl. They had a couple years where they kind of floundered just a little bit, with injuries and whatnot. So I don't think he wants to go through that again. I think he's going to be like, all right, I'm done. Whatever. I got another ring and whatever. Pat Stoll, Brown from the Eagles. I mean, AJ wanted out of there. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't think does he have, I don't know. AJ wanted out of Philly, even though he's like really close to with Jalen Hurts, but they didn't even cater. He needs a guy that they're just gonna like. Brown's probably gonna be the number one dude in New England, bar none. Right? They're just gonna be force feeding him the ball as a wide receiver outside of the running game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
And I got one more position group in the undrafted slash late round guys for the Denver
mm,
Broncos. One more, and that is the cornerback room. Now, corners for my Denver Broncos is another rare air thing that the Broncos have done consistently, actually. So at this point here, you can't even call it fluke. It's got to be some kind of a system that they developed internally or something. Um, where they have found guys like Chris Harris Jr. as an undrafted free agent corner. They have found Jaquan McMillan as an undrafted free agent corner. Both of these guys are now or were at the top of their position group. Jaquan McMillan is certainly near or at the top of that
He's going to get
position,
a payday somewhere,
and
right?
he's gonna get like big time money, right? Big time
Yeah,
money.
he's not
And
staying. He's
then
going to get paid somewhere.
yeah. So now that being said, the Broncos brought in some other interesting guys at the cornerback position. Funnily enough, several of them are in that nickel corner spot. So you have Amari Harvey, Paul Manning, and Brent Austin. And then we have a returning guy in his second season in Jaden Robinson. Now, Brent Austin, rather, is the guy that's getting the most looks right now. And he is definitely in that nickel corner vein, as it were. And the Broncos have had tremendous history of developing these late round corners, keeping them on the practice squad, elevating them once or twice, and then having their sophomore season they explode. And then they never leave the field. And the Broncos got Riley Moss. He's killed it. Really, he's done quite well despite the we'll call it the reputation that he has in the NFL. He is legitimately one of the top tier corners when you look at his stats.
Yeah.
Pastor Tan, we already spoke about him earlier, and then Jaquan McMillan. And then we also have Jade Barron, by the way, who was a first round draft pick that basically never saw the bloody field because every other corner on the team was just so bloody good.
I mean, do you think could Jade essentially, like take over starting spot for, I don't know, McMillan or whoever, or Ross, somebody like?
So I've heard a couple different rumors here. One of them is that there's been some talk that Jade Barron has struggled at the corner position, and the Broncos are potentially looking at moving him to safety. But this is the comment that I've heard as the prevailing narrative.
From Moss next year.
He's taking over for Moss next year.
Is Moss
in
a contract year? Okay.
This is contract year for Moss. Yeah.
These freaking cornerbacks, they make so much money too, man. Like,
yeah. And this is where it comes down to. You have Pat Surtain making quite a bit of money. And then you have Moss that's coming due on a contract, and you have McMillan that's coming due on a contract. And this is your first year that you would be able to potentially pay Bo and land him an extension and spread out his big time money across a bunch of years.
Do you think they do go early? It seems like the Broncos like to do that, like to pay their guys a little earlier. I'm wondering if that might be the case with Bo.
They could do that with Bo. They could do that to try to get ahead of the market. So, for example, if they can jump ahead of the $70-80 million quarterback market kind of deal, the Broncos would be doing themselves a favor, in my opinion. Bo Nix is an interesting cat. So I have a favorable and unfavorable opinion of Bo Nix. Bo Nix statistically is one hell of a quarterback at the NFL level. It is very difficult to deny that he has not had success. He's got that clutch gene, the I'm going to win you the game gene, et cetera, et cetera. The question is now, how much of that is Bo and how much of that is Sean Payton? Because Sean Payton is a seasoned head coach, and Bo has never not played without Sean Payton. So it's the Tom Brady style question with Belichick. I think we've learned from Belichick that a good portion of that falls on the quarterback. So I'm willing to give Bo, a reasonable percentage of that credit. But the one thing I will say, though, is that Bo has still struggled, if we're going to be honest, in the timing elements with his wide receivers. He's not been able to land those timing routes with the wide receivers where they haven't dropped the ball and passes, that sort of thing. Bo has also struggled with the ability to throw it with zip versus not. He's kind of either overthrown with too much zip or underthrown with not enough zip, which means that he's struggling with some of the touch passes that are critical. Now, he's had other passes, don't get me wrong, that are just like okay, like a postcard just got printed and it has that throw on it. You know what I mean?
You
Like
might
he's
be
had
on the wrong. They supposedly the Broncos were the number 2 team where the receiver was the error causing in the. So this might not be Bo's deal. This might be your wide receivers. It could be. I
yeah.
get what you're saying, but like highest percentage of receiver error causing incompletions, the Broncos rank number 2 in that. Uh, so however that was graded out by Warren Sharp on X, that's interesting. So that would favor Bo over. I mean, so for all the Bo truthers out there, right? Like I get what you're saying. You're being critical. Some criticism his way, and what was it like 2 years ago? He was pretty horrendous, I think, with his intermediate throws.
Yep.
Um, but look, there's growing pains in quarterback play,
No,
right?
100%. 100%.
You're
I'm not even
learning.
saying that. Yeah, I'm not even saying that he's a bad quarterback or anything like that. I'm simply saying that when you start entering in your quarterback making 50, 60 or
Yeah,
70 million a year and it eats up that much of a percentage of your total salary cap, that quarterback has to be someone that elevates the skill positions that are around them, because if they don't, you're done.
yeah,
Because when you pay a guy that much money in terms of the percentage of the total salary cap, you're going to need them to take average wide receivers and make them look above average because they're able to make up the difference in skill set. You're going to need a guy at a quarterback position that can adjust the protection on the offensive line on the fly to allow for you to get quick throws and identify blitzes and do the things and all that kind of stuff so that you can make up the difference on the team by having to shop in the basement in the bargain bin for certain position groups because he is eating that amount of salary from the salary cap. It's just a fact.
that's
I'm not even trying to speak ill of anyone. It's just you only have so much money to go around. And so
complete
that's what
sense.
my point is.
Yeah,
And
man.
this I agree with. He has the clutch gene. That's what I refer to as the clutch gene. The last guy we really saw that had that kind of ice in his veins sort of thing. I'm not even convinced that Pat Mahomes has that ice in his veins gene. I just think that he has Andy
I think
Reid
the
that
team has
has
the ice in the vein. They just,
yes,
I've said this ad nauseum. Like that team under that leadership, they just know how to win. Like
right.
out of all the teams I've seen, up until last season, the Chiefs, like, the last few minutes of that game, you cannot, count your chickens because
Yep.
they just Mahomes and yes, Mahomes gets the credit, and I would never say he's a bad quarterback, but I'm just like how that system has ran, it's been flawless. But
I
no,
guess what
you
my point
can't.
is there with Mahomes, flip side of that same coin. If you have a wide receiver that is impossible for you to overthrow,
Mm,
like literally impossible. Like there was there was jokes on the team that Mahomes literally said, "I need the ball because if I don't get it out of my hands within a certain amount of time to chuck it down the field fast enough, I'm not going to hit him. He's too quick."
yeah,
And I'm talking about Tyreek Hill.
yeah. Who I
Like
think is a free agent, by the way.
he's a free agent right now. But
I don't
again,
know if
the
he's.
point
Yeah,
being though is that Mahomes has a cannon for an arm. He's got a very good arm. He like that's undeniable. It just he's got a very good throwing arm. But it also helps when you have a guy that literally you can just say, I'm going to launch the thing as hard as I can bloody well throw it. And I know my wide receiver is going to be able to make up the difference and catch the ball.
yeah, that's true. That's
Like
fair.
it's just it's a fact. Now,
Well, I mean, this is where I think you talk about drops. Like I mean, this is where you guys, you know, paying the big bucks for Waddle comes into play. Like this is
Yes.
a guy that's could help immensely with
Hmm.
this. You know what I mean? Like the speed, the yak ability, like the whole nine, man. Like there's gonna be, dude, it's gonna be some fun times with Waddle and Sutton lining up.
Yeah,
It's
I
sure.
agree. I agree. But the point being is when you start paying your quarterback that sum of money,
You
like
just want to make sure.
legitimately that sum of money, um, you need to make sure that they can have the skill sets to elevate um, the talent to keep the cycle churning through, because you're not going to be able to pay them. You're just not. So you're
No,
going
yeah.
to have them come in, and you're going to have that like cyclical churn on the roster in order to allow that to work, and that's just the only way it's going to work.
There was something
Sorry, one
interesting
second.
that came out of what? What? Oh, go ahead. Emergency. Yeah, Waddle's gonna be fantastic. Not looking forward to that. There was some stuff that came out like with the Chargers, like uh we haven't had an OC, and an OC didn't say this. This is just kind of what Justin has said, and he wasn't throwing. I think yesterday, and people were like, "What?" He was throwing a weighted ball around, like they're like those water filled balls with the handles,
Yeah.
and people are like, "What the hell's going on now?" Right? And then I guess what they're going to be doing, what Mike McDaniel wants to do with Justin, and I haven't seen any other OCs that he's played under do this with him, because usually you got OCs, oh, he's great, he's perfect, right? Like that's kind of like their mantras. I guess what Mike has done is like, hey, you need to work on your footwork. So I guess once a week he's not throwing, and it's just going to be all footwork, which I thought was pretty interesting. Especially a guy, that I hold in high regards. That he noticed that there's something that he needs to work on, and it's his footwork. And I was like, all righty, rock and roll, like So, uh, so far so good with what Mike McDaniel has been doing in LA with these guys. Um, but yeah,
That'll be interesting. So the question now is going to be, how does Justin respond to somebody that is, look, as much as McDaniel had we'll say challenges in with the Dolphins,
yeah.
he is held in a like elite level category as an offensive mind in the NFL. Even
Justin's
today.
Justin's
Yeah,
eating
like
it up, dude. He's like, dude, if you see something like, I mean, this guy watched every snap, every throw he's thrown in his career. Like the guy was like, I watched
McDaniel.
every, yeah, he watched just every
Yeah.
throw he's thrown in his career. He watched it, and so he's like, all right, well, we don't need to work on your arm. We're gonna work on your footwork. And then the Chargers did like throw out a little like promo vid, and all of us savvy Charger fans were like, all those throws had touch. Those Justin was throwing all these throws, and yeah, they're going through the motions, like we said, right? Like this is just getting your kinks out. All the throws were not his prototypical, boom, like piss missile. It was all these little touch passes, and it's just getting the timing, getting everything, getting the chemistry built with everybody, which is something that he didn't do these last 2 years under Greg Roman, because Greg Roman's a terrorist as a OC. And yeah, so it's going to be an adjustment period. Duval, welcome, Joshua. Um, yeah, man. So I like it. I like it. Like, dude, just keep working on your craft, man. You know what I mean? Like, get better.
And that's where I'm at, is that so we had a question from Mike Carmelini earlier, if you remember, about like the AFC West, and this might be a good way of kind of summing up the show here, which is The Chargers could easily be the winners of the division this year, so long as your two tackles have recovered from their injuries and you don't see a drop off in play,
There's a lot of things that have to go right.
right?
Um, there,
So,
there's a lot of things. Each throw the brutal schedule out, right?
mhm,
And you just think of all the things that have to go right. It's. I'm glad I'm not a head coach. I'm glad I don't,
yep.
coach in the NFL or
But
yeah.
you
I don't
keep on
know. I don't know
forgetting.
who to pick. I don't know who to pick. I guess what just the safe bet to be is just pick the Broncos. They won the division
Look,
last year.
I think that's a fair pick, and I'm going to stick with it, not because I'm a Broncos fan, but because my thing has always been, even when the Chiefs were atop the division, which was, and I said this with the Chiefs, you and I think both kind of generally agreed on it as well, which is until proven otherwise,
There you
the
go.
Chiefs were the winners of the division. Well, last year, the Broncos, with the exception of how we played the Chargers interdivisionally, were the clear winners of the AFC West.
Yeah.
Like
It
for
was
sure.
painful for me. Like, yeah, you guys. I mean, I was. I don't know. Just the injuries were sickening. But like,
Yeah.
that's another. There's another aspect you can put in as a Chargers fan. For me, is just expect something drastic to
How
happen because
many
it
people
happens
get hurt? How
right
many people
every
get hurt?
year.
Yeah.
Every year,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh god. But
Yeah.
going 5-1 in the division when you could have gone 6-0 in the division, to be honest, and
Yeah.
still not winning the division is freaking brutal. Um,
Yeah.
but I think what I've gotten from the six pressers was Deion Henley, Khalil Mack. I think it was Derwin James. I'm not sure if it was Joe Alt, Rashawn Slater, Justin Herbert. They're all like they're focused on playoffs right now. Like, and I haven't heard them talk about it this early. For a few years now, I haven't heard this team talk about playoffs. They're sick and pissed off. They're like, we don't understand. We're a better team than that. Yada yada. So their expectations at least is playoffs. How they get it, if they have to go in as a wild card, which let's face it, man, if you look around the rest of the AFC, that's going to be really tough to get in as a wild card, right? Like, look at the rest of the AFC is obviously no games are played, but a lot of teams have improved themselves, and not all the AFC teams have a crazy hard schedule, in my opinion, right? So
No.
it's gonna be interesting to see how this shakes out. Um, the I'm sure the Bengals are going to want to make some noise. The Bills and Ravens, I think, are the highest odds right now. The AFC, the Ravens, that confuses me because I don't know. They've just seem to
Lamar Jackson seems to have a very good PR team.
they got something,
Um,
man. I don't get it.
because he really hasn't done a tremendous amount, if you're going to be honest, overall in his career in terms of like true success.
Kills it in the
Um,
season during season. Like he is Richie, the most dangerous guy with the ball in his hand at quarterback, and you could throw him in there with players. The guy is elite when he has the ball in his hands, and he's gotten better as a thrower, as a passer. I hate to admit it, but he gets hurt all the time. He takes himself out of games. Like there's things that, and it just yeah, I don't know.
yeah, well, that's part of the problem is that if you're taking yourself out of games and if you're getting taken out of games, then you can't win games.
Yeah,
And the long and the short of it is that he's another one of those guys that he got paid the bag, and as a result, you no longer have the money available to you as a team to build or bolster a deep enough roster to allow you to sustain a meaningful stretch of injuries or losing him as a player, because you need him to be on the field to make the difference for you, and he's not on the field as much as they need him to be. And or in the playoffs, the other challenge there is that he has struggled. He has not played up to what his the bill of goods, as it were, is, and he has ultimately lost a good number of those games as a result. I would say that Herbert somewhat falls a little bit into
Same.
that
Yeah.
category. If
100%.
we're going to be
Yeah.
honest, like, 'cause I'm not
Yeah.
trying to throw shade or anything, but if we're going to be honest, he's kind
I
of
would
got that
say
same general reputation.
the thing Lamar had the same head coach, so he was in the same system through his whole career. Justin, that's not been the same case. Justin has had this is now Justin's third head coach, and
Mhm.
God knows how many OCs now. So there's that. But yeah, look at the last 2 years in this regime, one and done in the playoffs. So and both games just happen to be his worst games of the season. So
Yeah,
yeah, you can't do that, man. And if that happens again, then you're gonna have some really serious conversations, some really tough heart to hearts. And
I agree. At that point there, you'd have to start saying, like, if the rest of the team is that good, is your quarterback the reason why you're not making it further? And is the rest of the team good enough to carry you if you went ahead and did something else or whatever the case may be? And I mean, those are tough calls, right? Like those, like no one wants to have those conversations. But to your point though, like at some point you have to be objective about the circumstances and the situation and simply say, like, what else is the problem here? Because the dude has been the consistent through line. The head coaches have changed,
he's
and he's been.
and to me, and you guys can argue this, he's one of the toughest quarterbacks in the league right now. Is
I
Justin
agree.
Herbert plays with injured, stiff arming guys with broken hands. Just he's a tough sob. But yeah, the performance in the playoffs has been just pitiful. And I'm not even talk about that Jacksonville game because I think that was the whole team just pissed themselves in that second
Collapsed.
half.
Collapsed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
mean, look, it takes two to tango, right? Like you only score 3 points, but then yet your defense gives up all those points, kind of thing. Like Duval, Joshua Morrison.
Yeah,
It
I
was,
completely agree with that. But and then in the other division, you have the rest of the division rather. You have the Raiders that are figuring out who fits the new scheme and the new regime.
and it's division game, and they're going
Um,
to come at you
and
like it's every
Yep,
game, every
yep.
Sunday.
But then the outside division games is going to be more interesting because the other teams are going to be built different from the rest of the divisional teams, and so that'll be very interesting. And then with the Chiefs and the Broncos, I'm going to kind of put them in a similar category a little bit in some regards. They've had their quarterbacks coming off of significant injuries. I would argue Mahomes' injury is a lot worse than Bo Nix. Um, Patrick Mahomes rather had his whole knee mangled and a soft tissue injury, which is quite concerning actually. Um, and Bo Nix had a broken foot, which is fine, but bones heal, and they're not the worst thing in the world to have an injury with. So it's a
Oh, they're talking about Super Bowl already, huh? Again, like the Patriots are not going back. They're going to be good, but they're not. The AFC West had last year. Who was it? Like you just had too many teams just fall apart. Chiefs, Bengals, Ravens all fell apart last year.
I'm telling you right now, every team that comes into Foxborough and everywhere that Mike Vrabel travels with the team, there is going to be hecklers and
Oh God,
undermining comments and a whole 9 yards. Like, here's an example.
I can't wait to see
Mike,
the Rossini fatheads if they have
yeah,
them.
yeah. No, but let's look. This is the thing that's crazy. Diana Rossini was 7 months pregnant, and they went on a private boat together when she was 7 months pregnant with her son. Her son, when was born, was named Mike. if someone doesn't start throwing up, give little Mike Rossini a paternity test on the regular during Patriots games. I'm sorry, but like I'd be shocked
Yeah.
because
All
it's been hinted at throughout the entire media. We're not affiliated with any media outlet, so we can kind of say the thing. um,
they've crushed this story after a while. I mean, it's pretty much died down now, but you know, they'll something else will come out. You'll see.
for sure. I don't know if I'm frozen or DZ froze. Can everyone hear me in the chat? Testing, testing, one, two, three. Okay, perfect. Thank you. I just wasn't sure which one of us. Oh, there we go. All right. So, yeah, I mean, I still maintain that that Vrabel's going to get taunted, and I think it's going to be a distraction for the Patriots. So, Mike, this is going to be probably a victory lap for you. I think at some point, Mike Vrabel's, we'll call it off the field antics, will come back to bite him, and I think it'll start becoming a distraction to the team. I think the team will start having some real issues with it. I think the team's going to start having to start answer questions about it, and I believe it'll be an issue. Truly, honestly. Um, but within the division, the AFC West here, I think there is a number of question marks that each of the teams have. And we had a question in the very early stage of the show um, that kind of said who's going to win the AFC West. And so ultimately, I think the Broncos still have the best shot of winning the AFC West because I think Bo Nix's injury was, while serious, was the least serious of the major quarterbacks within the division that had injuries. And I believe that the Broncos made strides forward to improve their offense, which was really their weak spot of the team last year. Broncos do have a very tough schedule, but I think ultimately most of the division also plays those same serious teams because of just the divisions that we play. So, yeah, dude, you may as well. You may as well. And there's going to be some kind of sign that'll be held up that'll be like when the houseboats are rocking, don't come a knocking kind of thing. Like there'll be a whole bunch of crap like that that are going to be put up as signs. Like for sure, I know enough of the northeastern folks there in the U.S. that the signage is going to be quite brutal, and it's going to be without regret whatsoever. And he's going to get heckled all like the entire time, just the entire time. Um, but he's married. Rossini was married. Both of them were in the wrong. But ultimately, I think Mike is going to is going to end up being put in a position where he's just going to get heckled by fans. He's going to get heckled by media, all that kind of stuff, and I think it'll eventually become a little too much for the team to stay focused, in my opinion. But that'll do it for the show tonight, guys. We kind of went over the OTAs for the Broncos, went over the NFL news. So we have the A.J. Brown trade that we covered. We have the Myles Garrett trade that we covered. Also, I covered briefly there the Pastor Tame $5 million pay raise for this coming season for Mike and others that are um, joining us here. There's some additional incentives in that Pat Surtain deal as well that allow him to earn even a little bit more than the $5 million, depending on kind of how he plays and what he does. Ultimately, I think that was a very good look for the Broncos. And I think the division as a whole has gotten better. I think the Raiders are much better than they were last year. And so the rest of the division needs to pay attention and make sure they treat the Raiders rather as a serious franchise within the division now. especially with the quarterback and the regime and the other moves that they've made. But, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for the show on this Wednesday, June the 3rd. If you have any questions, leave those down below. We will do our best to answer them after the show. Go ahead and leave a like. It helps us reach other folks just like you that are fans of the show and fans of the division. That would be fantastic. We will be back next week. We are working on some interesting content for you guys to have on the show. We are picking one of the common divisional opponents to have them brought in as one of the major podcasts coming onto the show to start talking about how they think their team will stack up against us. So stay tuned for that. And until next week, where the West Side's the best side, peace!
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute,